My name is Steve Burk. I'm a DeLand attorney and currently a candidate for election to the position of county court judge. I'm running against incumbent Judge Dawn Fields in Group 5. Some of you may have seen the article that ran a little while ago in the Daytona Beach News Journal with a large headline on the front page saying, "Attorney facing judge sued." And then in a smaller caption over here, "Complaint accuses candidate of defamation in campaign against area's only black judge." There have been a few perceptions about me and about my campaign that have arisen out of this article. Number one, there are some people that think that Judge Fields is suing me. She's not. The lawsuit was filed by some of her campaign contributors. Number two, if you actually read the article, you'll see that the lawsuit accuses me of making wild accusations, thinly veiled implications of nefarious behavior, and the lawsuit itself accuses me of saying outright lies regarding some campaign contributors and some activities that have gone on in Volusia County Judicial Campaign treasuries recently and 2 years ago. I'd like to try to dispel some of those what I consider to be misperceptions, and I'm going to tell you what I'm about to tell you is all based on fact. Whenever I can, I'm going to cite a particular case or a place where you can go to double check what I'm saying. I think that what I'm about to say to you is generally unknown by the public, generally unknown by practicing members of the Volusia County Bar, and will come as a real eye-opener to you. I'd like to direct your attention to a case called New Smyrna Imaging versus Dairyland Insurance Company. It's called a PIP suit. I'm not going to go into the details about PIP suits other than to tell you most of these are filed in small claims court. Many of them involve amounts in controversy as low as $3. And in the event that the plaintiff prevails in these, under the law, the plaintiff is entitled to recover attorney's fees. Now, in this particular case, New Smyrna Imaging versus Dairyland Insurance, the case number is 2013-22052 CONS. It was a case that was assigned to Judge Shirley Green a couple of years ago, actually, down in New Smyrna Beach. The plaintiff prevailed. The judge held extensive hearings, took testimony, considered the law and the facts regarding a proper award of attorney's fees in this case. And this plaintiff was being represented by the law firm of Bradford Cedarberg out of Orlando, Florida. The judge found, based on expert testimony, the law and the facts, that the firm of Bradford Cedarberg, one of their attorneys, the reasonable value of his services was $500 an hour. A couple of the other attorneys came in at $475 an hour. The award was substantiated by the testimony of an expert who was called. The expert in this case was Kimberly Simoes, and the court found that a reasonable fee for her services was $500 an hour, and that she had expended 6.5 hours in preparation and in testimony. All told, Ms. Simoes was awarded $3,250 as an expert fee. The plaintiff's attorneys from Orlando were awarded $37,740 in attorney's fees, and unfortunately, because the amount that is awarded or that is recovered by the plaintiff is very, very rarely ever mentioned in these cases, I have no idea what New Smyrna got, although I can tell you this was a small claims case. Now, this order in and of itself, I'm going to assume was entirely proper and appropriate. Judge Green held a hearing on it. She took testimony. She heard the evidence. She considered the law. What some people have found troubling is that shortly after she entered that award, she opened a re-election campaign fund and in very short order received contributions from a lot of entities and attorneys that are related to parties in this case. I'm not going to go through all the details because it takes way too long, but if you're curious, you can check out any of the contributors on the Supervisor of Elections website, run them through Sunbiz, the Division of Corporations, check them out through the Department of Financial Services, and you're going to find this. One of the contributors in the amount of $1,000 was Kimberly Simoes, the expert. Another contributor was her husband, Mario, who came in for $1,000. Their law firm contributed $1,000. Their secretary contributed $1,000 to Judge Green. If you really dig deep, you'll discover that Kimberly Simoes is from Mississippi, and she's got some family up there, and I believe it's her brother or her sister contributed $1,000. Another family member from Mississippi contributed $1,000. Another family member from Mississippi contributed $1,000. Another family member of Miss Simoes contributed $1,000. Now, there are some businesses that have relations or ties, ownership ties, to some of the parties that you see as plaintiffs in these PIP suits. One of them, from Lake Monroe, contributed $1,000. Another one from Sorrento contributed $1,000. Another actual healthcare provider, chiropractic clinic or MRI clinic or something like that, contributed $1,000. An outfit called Advantacare, which was being represented by Simoes, $1,000. A clinic in Bunnell, represented by Simoes, $1,000. Accurate Healthcare sent in $1,000. Another clinic from Altamont Springs, $1,000. Another clinic from Daytona, $1,000. Another clinic from Altamont Springs, $1,000. Another clinic from Palm Coast, $1,000. Another clinic from Daytona, $1,000. Another clinic from Daytona, $1,000. Another clinic from Palm Coast, $1,000. All of these are related in ownership with each other or with representation by the Simoes attorneys. Oh, here's another MRI clinic for $1,000. Here's a business in Ormond Beach for $1,000. Business in Ormond Beach came in at the end during the general election and contributed another $1,000, perfectly legal. There was a company in Lake Mary which is listed as being involved in real estate for $1,000. That same company came in later, contributed another $1,000, although at that time they were simply listed as a small business. It's the same company. There's a company that actually is a Delaware corporation, but authorized to do business in Lake Monroe and has some ownership by these same folks, $1,000. Another one, $1,000. Then we come down to the attorneys that represented the plaintiffs. Mark Cederberg, who was worth $500 an hour in this order, contributed $1,000. His partner, Rutledge Bradford, contributed $1,000. Their law firm of Bradford Cederberg contributed $1,000. Another attorney that works with them contributed $1,000. Another attorney that works with them contributed $1,000. Another attorney that works with them contributed $1,000. An attorney that is, I believe, married to one of the attorneys that contributed $1,000 sent in $1,000. This is all money coming in from Orlando. None of these people can cast a vote here. Another attorney with that law firm sent in $1,000. Another attorney at the same address as that law firm sent in $1,000. Another attorney at the same address as one of the other attorneys sent in $1,000. Another attorney with that law firm sent in $1,000. The Simoes Law Group came back in at the end and in the general election contributed another $1,000, perfectly legal. And then there were three more $500 contributors from the law firm that had been awarded $37,000 in this case. I find that somewhat unusual that there is one particular case in the Volusia County court system where all of these contributors are somehow related to each other by ownership or by representation. That was a couple of years ago. This year, Judge Dawn Fields was assigned the case of Advantacare, which, by the way, is one of these contributors over here. Advantacare of Florida versus Windhaven Insurance Company. The case number here is 2017-31432-COCI. This case is one of 10,000 PIP suits that was filed by the Simoes Davila lawyers from their Seminole County office in 2017. This is just one of them. I've been advised, actually by Ms. Simoes, that most of these cases settle out at pre-trial or before trial, and they generally settle these out for an attorney's fee somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 to $7,000. That's without trial. This case ended up going to trial, and the plaintiff prevailed. Again, since the plaintiff prevailed, they were entitled to an award of attorney's fees. This order was entered on December 7th, 2017. The following day, Judge Fields, who signed the order, designated a campaign treasurer and a campaign depository. A couple of things. Number one, well, let me go through some of this first. She opened a campaign account a short time later with two $1,000 contributions from the Simoes Law Group, or Simoes Davila PLLC. At that point in time, I wrote Judge Fields a letter, and I said, you know, Judge, these attorneys have hundreds and hundreds of cases pending in your division. I just don't think it looks right for you to be accepting $1,000 campaign contributions from these lawyers. What a mistake that was. That resulted in my being sued by these law firms and by Kimberly Simoes for defamation, because I was alleging that she was trying to buy the courthouse. Actually, the point of my letter to Judge Fields was, Judge Fields, these people have the right to make these contributions. You should not be accepting them. Well, everyone kind of doubled down on their position that this is appropriate, and a short while later, the secretary for the Simoes Law Group contributed $1,000. Another attorney in the Simoes Law Group contributed $1,000. Another attorney in the Simoes Law Group, or Simoes Davila, and I apologize, it's hard for me to keep them straight, but it's basically the same law firms, contributed $1,000. The husband of this attorney contributed $1,000. By the way, they live in another county, so they can't actually cast a vote here. The attorney that was subject to the attorney's fee award here, and who at one time worked for the Simoes Davila PLLC law firm, contributed $1,000. Her husband, and by the way, they live in Oviedo, so they can't cast a vote, contributed $1,000. Now, I'd like to pause at this point and tell you the amounts that were awarded in this order, because you probably can't read them from there. Judge Fields, after an extensive hearing and considering testimony, expert testimony, the evidence in the law, determined that the attorneys that were actually representing Advantacare of Florida, including Simoes Davila PLLC that initiated the suit, Brooke Bolts, who came in after she left the firm, formed her own firm, finished up the case, those attorneys should be compensated at a rate of somewhere between $325 and $525 an hour, for a total of, as the judge signed the order, $27,400 and change. Actually, and this is really embarrassing, there's a mathematical error there, and if you compute the number of hours and the reasonable hourly rates, you only come up with $26,400, so there's an extra $1,000 and change in there somewhere. But anyway, I think maybe the defense counsel here should pay closer attention to orders when they're submitted to the judge for signing. The attorney here that left the firm, formed her own firm, her firm from Oviedo sent in $1,000. Some clients of Simoes Davila that are other pain care clinics sent in $1,000 and $1,000. Chiropractor that owns some of these clinics sent in $1,000. Another clinic that he owns sent in $1,000. Another clinic that he owns sent in $1,000. By the way, some of these other pain clinics or chiropractic clinics have open cases where they're being represented by Simoes Davila, some of which had been assigned to Judge Fields. Some of the same businesses over here that have ownership ties to some of these pain clinics. One of them is located at 1708 Lexington Green in Sanford. That's a little bit different than the address back then, but they've moved. They threw in $1,000. Another one that's located at 1708 Lexington Green in Sanford contributed $1,000. Judge Fields was honored to receive a $1,000 contribution from CRN Receivable Management, which is actually a Delaware corporation, and was a contributor to Judge Green, but they're authorized to do business in Florida, so they send in $1,000. There's another business located at 1708 Lexington Green in Sanford. Judge Fields reports that on her campaign contributors as being an unknown business. The identity is known, but the sort of business is not known. Now, there was an attorney that testified as an expert in this case, Mark Cederberg. You may remember him from the case with Judge Green. He represented the plaintiff in this case. And Simoes testified as the expert. Well, here Simoes represented the plaintiff, and Cederberg came up from Orlando to testify as an expert. Judge Fields found that his time, the reasonable value of his services, was actually $575 an hour, although she cut him back to $550 an hour because of a contractual relationship he had with these attorneys over here, for a total of $8,085. His partner from Orlando sent up $1,000. Their law firm, Bradford Cederberg, sent up $1,000. Another attorney that works for them sent $1,000. Another attorney that works for them sent $1,000. Another attorney that works for them sent $1,000. Two more attorneys that work for the Bradford Cederberg firm each sent a $500 contribution, but I ran out of these little green tickets, so I put them both on one for a grand total of $1,000. Now, if you consider any one of these contributions by itself, first off, it's not significant. It's not a significant amount to the attorneys that are involved. I mean, at $575 an hour, doesn't even account for 2 hours, $1,000 contribution. And a $1,000 contribution, separate, sitting alone in a campaign fund, doesn't really generate any particular sort of interest, at least not on my part. However, when you get a pattern like this, with all of these contributors somehow related, all of these making the statutorily maximum $1,000 contribution, consider that in light of local attorneys who might contribute $50, $150, or $250 to a judge that they support. I think this is somewhat unusual. I think this creates a perception. I think this creates a perception that is not welcome in the courthouse. It's not welcome in the profession, at least as far as I consider it. And I think that even though each one of these contributors has the First Amendment right to make a contribution like this, at some point the judge has to realize that the perception of accepting this kind of money from lawyers and plaintiffs, litigants that have hundreds and hundreds of cases. By the way, sometimes Judge Fields would be assigned 100 of these cases on a single docket. So it's not like she doesn't know who these attorneys are. I just don't think that's appropriate. I think it's the wrong decision for the judge to make. I'm here today as much to protect my reputation as anything else. I want to inform all of the attorneys in Volusia County of the system that's going on. The vast number of small claims cases that are being brought, some with very significant attorney fee awards. If I can do anything to stop judicial candidates and incumbent judges from accepting $1,000 block contributions from attorneys that have business in front of the court, I'm going to do it. My name is Steve Burk. I thank you so much for listening to this.